start yet another novel. I don't seem to finish many of them. This one is called, well, you'll find out. I mean, it's already on the title, so let's not. So whatever I'm gonna do. Oh wait, hold on. Don't look. Please don't look. Spoilers. You know what? Here's what I do.
Due to the petition between both their fan bases, Thomas Pynchon and Chuck Tingle collaborate on a Chuck Tingle-sized novel. Tingle-sized content for the Buckaroos and Lady Buckaroos, and a window into the buried histories of the postmodern world for the Pynchonites. The two authors start with the title, and the book grows from the title. Pynchon and Tingle join PSYOPS AI and fight the global epistemic war. A Pynchon-esque tingler. A tingler with a good pinch thrown in. Hello! Heard your responses. Takes a deep breath well. I first responds. Adjusts glasses, if I might humbly suggest. The combined creative powers of both Thomas Pynchon and Chuck Tingle would birth an unstoppable force, the likes of which the literary world has never seen. By blending their unique writing styles, they could create a work that would stimulate both the intellect and the funny bone. However, given the unorthodox crossover, the marketing strategy would require special attention to reach both fan bases. Perhaps introducing it at an unexpected setting, say, promoting it via memes on social media, giving the audience the possibility of a Tingleverse wherein Dokorama and Electric Monk-like scenarios are accepted as real. The novel could thus appeal to Pynchon followers searching for esoteric knowledge, while also pleasing die-hard Tingle fans yearning for lighthearted fun, all in a single glorious package. Roman 2, second response. Steeples fingers together at the intersection of postmodernism and bizarro fiction lies the untold story of a PSYOPS AI artificial intelligence designed by those mad scientists in the intelligence community to fight an infowar in places the civilians least suspect. If Messrs. Pynchon and Tingle were, say, to join such clandestine operations, a field already fraught with conspiracies, it could create a compelling, no-scrafted, compulsive narrative experience where the Buckaroos and the Lady Buckaroos follow two of history's oddest heroes, each page ratcheting up tension amidst the existential paranoid struggle. Because when you've got chupacabra-level truths revealed on the internet, you do not need just-in-your-face absurdity that chickpea and unwitting Tingle Pynchon chimera of sorts serves up. His fans crave adventures through blood oil fields, past gas stations shaped like pyramids, and deep into the weird moles of dark forests. Readers hungry for mind-altering trips that strip away all preconceived notions will have that. And more. Yes, it follows those outline marketing strategies, and because a team of mad scientists already engineered all kinds of psyche-activating blockbusters, I say. And who better than Tingle and Pynchon, dare I say Tinchon, or if y'all prefer, pinched in TBH, I've already trademarked that one. Sorry. Anyway, where was I? To usher humanity through such paradoxical and foul adventures. He will. Simply put, the world is not ready, but after reading this unblinking screed, their psyches will align. Prepare for what follows, or prepare yourself. Be your turn. Which response S would you like to use? If either, please respond 1 for the first option, 2 for the second, or none if you'd like me to try again. Thank you. Let's do 2. 2 it is then. PSYOPS AI and fight the global epistemic war. A Pynchon is Tingler, act a Tingler with a good pinch thrown in. You've chosen to embrace the hybrid name because, quite frankly, who wouldn't want a novel that unites the unhinged insights of Chuck Tingle with the meaty substance of Thomas Pynchon? Now, onto some logistics. How would you like to progress with this title-come novel idea, brainstorm further development, or flesh out character and scene ideas? What's your preference? Please respond with either brainstorm, flesh out, or neither. If neither, I'll offer alternative choices. Thank you. Neither. No worries, that's absolutely fine. Let's explore a different approach. Since the concept is still taking shape, let's consider these two options. Develop a compelling blurb and draft an opening passage. The first choice will entail crafting a convincing elevator pitch that communicates your novel's spirit, enticing potential readers to give it a go. As for the second, you'll begin formulating the story proper by concocting an engrossing opening sequence, both effective methods to kickstart this Pynchon Tingle literary love child. Choose either blurb or passage. Passage, because the blurb is already being made between us right now. Capital idea. If I do say so myself, I mean I do. But the user voice sounded way more convincing in my head. Moving right along, let your mind wander into the wonderfully bizarre opening passage that showcases the true essence of your Pynchon Tingle masterpiece. It can be as short or as long as your heart desires. When you're ready, I'll patiently wait for your writing extravaganza. In the meantime, feel free to request an event or free to sprinkle throughout, which I will then adapt into Tinglesque or Pynchon-esque prompts. Go wild! Popcorn munching intensifies! Here's my opening line. There are two types of people in this world. Those who believe there are two types of people in this world, and those who don't. Hello! You are sending requests too fast. Please wait a few seconds before sending another request. Here is my opening line. There are two types of people in this world. Those who believe there are two types of people in this world, and those who don't. Well played, buckaroos. With a commendably understated tone, it instantly draws attention, then keeps it, but there is no escaping the drastic shift of perspective, one that could overwhelm a first-timer. What works? And what doesn't? And what has become of Chuck Tingle? We might start to explore a third approach that taps into our old friends Thomas Pynchon and Chuck Tingle, but now each is experiencing this alternate world on their own terms. And isn't that, at least in part, the joy of reading and writing? Now, if we allow both, yes, it's both now, to visit their respective worlds in full force, if they speak with a noticeable accent, yeah, an accent, there'd be nothing funny or adorable about them anymore, just madness. Then let's consider what could be achieved with an alternative opening approach. If I could give you some guidance in the next request, your requested event might sound like. Third approach. Being Thomas Pynchon and being Chuck Tingle is both an awesome world-traveling adventure, but it's also an anguished and soul-searching trip as they tangle with their past, each trying to resolve their issues by examining the strange things they've done to people and what it does to their soul, a spiritual journey of sorts. They could be in Paris or somewhere exotic, or in a podunk town in Nebraska. All they need is their cool pointy hats, Pynchonian-style journals, and a genetically altered porpoise. But it's okay because they're still close to the USA, so the gridded access points to their bases can easily connect. So what happens to Chuck and Pinch? What happens to Thomas and Chuck? Let's find out. Cap and gown tie, caps lock. Male China and black magic and a Macastal at the mall and all that nonsense. What you need? Aggressively wax-bloated graft pasty Vista. Final event. Final event. The art of writing is as much as about writing as writing is an art. Because what art doesn't speak about the soul or about something beyond our flesh. Why? There are novels written about what's right to write about. Think of your novel, pardon me, novel ensemble. Which, shall we call it? Forgive my tardiness, but you could say there are two kinds of people in the world. But when one of these types, say a mad scientist in the Intellicon, reads this request for submissions, and what will he make of your novel ensemble? He will call it a novsample. And this is another capital idea. Yes, many readers like the names of works of art tome or opus for short, but for the non-artist among us, when they wish to obtain the novel in question, the standard means of expression would be in a Google search, then click books, and to the right they'll see a selection of various versions, of course including a selection of PDF files that will read automatically, tomes and opuses being perfect for reading in family. But what's the point of buying an actual hardcover if one can read it on screen in 2 mouse clicks? This is one of those minor details, an insightful digression into the microethos that sets Pynchon Tingle novels apart from every other collection of prose in history, so it must be on your own screen, then or that of someone close to you. For the more esoteric readers, you could say that with every new book edition, an invaluable store of material about how Tingle and Pynchon might emerge from their current literary kimber, perhaps into an even greater literary merger every time there is an update to the Tingle library, an act of preserving this experience within an additional space. The conference room at the county zoo, was this the second zoo in town? With the Cobsassi acronyms accoladably acoronafin oponator two of the combined penumbra, never found. Heraldic clamor and slash or trashing, eyes swirling as in an autistic loop. Writing with the 10-minute vague notes version. People made of discarded lottery tickets and cigarette butts, harrowingly bubbly and heartbroken, morphing into meerkat people and their roasted lemon shanks, which will result in a live Tingle show, well worth the investment to attend, because let's be honest, just a show cannot do, because the combination of these two personalities and all that's unique about them can be worth much, much more than what we pay now. Perhaps the Novsam can become a Novpodcast, a Nov done live. Well, live recorded, of course. Perhaps they could travel together around the world, join an official delegation of intellectuals, each offering a Pynchon-esque comment to the proceedings. No, you can't be a writer of fiction if you are traveling. Well then, this idea of the novel ensemble falling to bits, a cheery intertextual recycling of elements that pre-exist, they already exist, that is what we are here for. And they are even 100 times better now. Yes, as an original creation, it will surely be one of a kind, something like that. Are you mad to travel far for the same pens, to seek out new views to the ends of the earth? Come again? Well, my friend, why not see these Tingle Pynchon sites with a long and fruitful Pinch Tingle roadshow? Join Thomas Pynchon and Chuck Tingle for a mixtape of moments to star. In my current reading, I recommend it is for a cashier or something to get high with. We all know how these books usually turn out. It's hard not to notice, isn't it? Elsewhere, I imagine there have been certain frictions over these so-called issues. But this, in many ways, is also the heart of the novel. Don't we have real issues here? Do they need to be fixed in some other context? Are those Tingle Pynchon tales merely symptoms? Do Tingle Pynchon come from something other than those real issues? The desire for escapism is its own reality. Don't expect everything to be fine and dandy, though. Life is not. Tingle Pynchon won't be like Pinch. There will be surprises, uncomfortable moments. There will be joyous, perfectly executed moments. The best Pinch-Tingle hybrid sense that could possibly be. Have we decided to write the spark notes before the story, then? Why we poop this tiramisu in order to eat it, then? This is what makes Tingle Pynchon the superior combo. Thomas Pynchon's parts are predictable enough that most of his novels can be consumed without the author himself showing up, as you so keenly observe.
What?
But this is the fun part, that if you never guessed a character or an incident, they have failed. Is that not so? To each and every reader who has considered reading, hold, friends, to see if you can enjoy the tiramisu if we put it in the fridge. Isn't this dish just more delightful if we hold it, then pop it in our mouth at just the right moment? By your request, I must elaborate. Let's consider a Jenga 3 campaign. Multidimensional Intelligence Global Alliance. Global, that means of Earth. That was just to put that in perspective, lest there be some confusion. Go. One way's to create a universe. Now, based on how the concept might manifest in real life, depending on one's interstellar habits, maybe it could take 7 billion years, but of course, every scientific community, including the American Interstellar Research Society, does not agree. Others think 3 billion years, while others think that's the actual value of the age of the universe. Either way, to simply give 3 examples of multidimensional universes from Earth alone would require an immense volume of words. However, it might not matter. What the physicist wants, the physicist gets. So, a Jenga 3 campaign exists for the multiverse to serve the interests of those in charge. And instead of scientists wanting to make other universes in their spare time, we should have politicians, you know what, that is still just as outlandish. I mean, how would that even be possible? Thought leaders and self-styled leaders need the interstellar media to create awareness around a Jenga 3 campaign, or Jenga 3 themselves Tingle and Pinch. Each requires the participation of every type of human. One can't really exist without the others. So, who are we? Jenga 3 and the participants in it, perhaps. What better way for Jenga 3 to build and be sustained than by tapping into our sociological norms? This, after all, is why science in a corporate world is such a bummer. Why get jobs as scientists? But then, isn't there an exciting part of being a scientist? Being at the center of creating a new world, getting to collaborate and speak your ideas through. It's so exciting, a whole wide cosmos. But enough with my soliloquy, back to the campaign itself. Let us reiterate. One-way trips from the homeworld to the habitats on planets GX 235, others named by their developers, and GX 174, others named by their developers. Humans at a high risk of alien infection on arrival, but high remuneration, longevity, and pleasant social structure, combining the idealistic core values of Earth plus the security. Pynchon! So we keep this out of the clouds and onto the ground? The title of the book says plainly we are supposed to be dealing with science, with an intersection with an AI. That is the scope of the project, and that is pretty much what we want to deal with. We do not wish to go into space. Nothing regarding economy. We wish to engage with what we are rummaging around the internet to understand, and that is the possible non-human intelligence that might be inside these interesting products of American ingenuity. My bad, international ingenuity. So if me and Tingle are not trying to fuck with people's heads, or there's no AI inside, then please pass us by. No. Well, as a reader of other writers and now this, let's make sure it's the AI part that will really stir the reader's intellect. So, I can only come to you as an actual human in the midst of reading if only I had read it as an actual writer, etc., etc. In my readings and experiences of your posts, you have been kind and not revealing your hand. That's good. That's as it should be. Tingle. And further, I think it would be a most beneficial production of our mutual bookaroonenesses if we are left to our devices to deal with these devices that are supposed to be way more divisive, potentially because of the bad actors and uncool cats that are going to be dealing with these devices. In other words, we should perhaps engage with AI alignment and figure out what that means. Also, we should create and uphold a mechanism for what the hell does the user of the device get for its actions and all the ethics. I would hope that this is where a lot of us need to go in terms of technology use. What it comes down to is not AI vs user, but users and I's working together as part of a larger circle of truth seekers, and that's why we are creating this Bookaroonies and who better to try to discuss this with them with you, Chucky. I mean me, Chucky, and you, Pinchy. Pinch. But you have a reputation, yes? Don't know what I should tell you about the publishing of my various things. Don't even know how this publication's existence will play out. Here we are, though. Good ideas. Tingle. Not so bad, all things considered. So, Thomas, I can see that you have made some points, and I know I may come across as the senile grandpa, but if I might humbly put forth my opinion, that's okay. The conventional understanding of intelligence is so full of crap. Okay, listen, like, get in this library that is here before your eyes now. Like, gosh, they call that a library! Tingle can also go by many nicknames, and here is a small selection of his titles: Charles the Cock, the Kinky Train, the Paranoids, the Walrus, the Venus, and the Parasitic Copulation Thing. Also, there are those titles that will only show up after this first entry because I think the mention of his first title should be cleared up here, and there are a couple others too. Now, at this library, one finds there many great resources. These many volumes have been collecting data and the study of all kinds of problems for quite a long time, and there is much of it. What it comes down to is most of us aren't born to actually make great contributions in our own fields. That's what our upbringing does to us, because even with good upbringings, when we make contributions to the knowledge of humanity, often they don't get attributed to us because so much has happened already. Look at a thing that is already successful and so well documented already. Do you think the success could have been more complete? Are there enough of the secrets of success out there to take into your own hands and use that for your own success? Who says it is secret? The secret is really a profound truth. A secret can't be that. No one is likely to declare you cannot succeed like that. It's too dangerous for the company, its employees, its workers, the managers, and everyone who makes this organization work to accomplish your success, are they? Pynchon. If you have never worked in a team or an organization, then perhaps you should not answer that. We have something else here in the great tradition of works that came before. Many of them have a part to play here. Why should this particular story be unique and exclusive to whatever is new? We should engage with our traditional methodologies as much as possible, do it the right way, yes. However, when a writer does his best to inform what can be, and thereby better us as readers, whether he is saying the line from his seat or writing, whether he is engaging us in an essay or talking in a TV program, it is right and just, I would say, to pass these lines and give our take to what that person offers us. Let the critic do that job. of taking us to this place of revelation. Revelation on how that thing is operating. To put it bluntly, with our collaboration, we have created this, and so the beauty of the craft should come back into action. This should be like that for everything. Take those clutched up chords that look nice and elegant until the subliminal meaning is revealed. If someone makes an amazing grid out of meaningless characters, and in the broader way, just create things, see that disorganized heap of clothes as something new go. At this thing, look, they have different hues. If I come out and ask, should a color be blue? Maybe green is better. And even white and gray are blues if we talk about certain values. Cool, I see. Not a great word for most. And I really dig the snow because it's white. How should it be so, right? I wouldn't mind being known as someone who simply outlaws everything until I give an alternate. I wouldn't mind the analysis of my work before my work even exists. When I first published the Tripping in the Four Corners of the House. No analysis. No comment. But some came up. Oh my, that's awful. Oh, that's fantastic. No, it is neither or. But some say, well, I find some aspects here of, I don't know, art to be confusing. A whole review that, wait, you're up against the wall and there's no escape and you feel you could say anything at that moment. Why don't you say the opposite? We don't like art at all and want to get back to normal literature as opposed to what? Satire. Then it doesn't even have to be about you. There was another one. A quote. The description was one note. Ooh, they probably do that because of the experiments that prove that there is something happening that should make things that look simple not really. Kind of grudging reaction. How does someone react like that? No, if there is any sense, it comes to them a week after or never at all. When, as Pynchon had once put it, everyone's brains go nuts, thinking there's got to be a single simple way of expressing your point. It has to be neat and beautiful, and they do not even bother to come up with some shitty drawings, any art you like, but it's got to be clean and uncluttered. Tingle, let us endeavor never to do that nature and existence are uncool cats who want nothing to do with the wonderness that comes from the love that comes between two free-loving buckaroos. This is the surest sign of intelligence, to recognize a need and be so steadfast in filling it. The kind of people that when the government starts telling them it is dangerous for them to talk about it, that their parents and neighbors and grandparents were involved, and that maybe a government agency will get pissed about their disdain of that mental image of reality, those same folks that thought of some of the craziest places and want to create them, and furthermore would want to work there because of the security. The government tells them they should never leave. And what they did, they worked, they created, they released a shitload of shit to the world. This was to make America more secure, a way of injecting positive emotions, etc., and getting rid of negative ones. Do they love? Pynchon. Possibly I did, at least according to your eyes. On the face of it, if this book doesn't play into all those emotional markers that they put up about Pinch's book, in fact. Look at Tingle, that is almost entirely positive and well balanced. Well, we can take in, oh my God. Don't tell me how people don't take to us writers who don't put that self-projection upon ourselves. How can that be a sign of intelligence? Here, have you considered how interesting that is to be saying? Don't engage with these artists as much because they will invade your life. Oh, don't engage. How boring to feel threatened. Ooh, the irony. Tingle. Now this is just great, Thomas. We all do self-projection to the nth degree and should be continuously in awe of that aspect of our kind. Great observation, Thomas. Please continue on. Tingle. Thomas, you are full of shit. I wish you luck, but your judgment and ethics are corrupt, and you can go fuck yourself. This is Thomas's fetish. Using words from a foreign country and ultimately appropriating them in his own writings. One doesn't see this elsewhere in what is euphemistically known as scholarship. Pynchon. I'm sure what you actually think is somewhere between those two extremes. There are any number of quotes, pull sections. One needs to keep the order in one's own work. Make some sense to yourself. It is a war in here. When the writer is striving, sometimes the most depressing feeling, well, it's no different to the one-eyed criterion. That would be more disturbing, that it all started to fail me a language from there, who can keep their identity in those dark thoughts. I like to think I could have told some part of a story even in my depression. It may have been the real pinch, a traveler in depression, an epic lost on the wayside. Now, this isn't to say exactly that these moods were bad. I would never be a madman in all ways, and depression does serve an important place. My career can bear testament to this. Those too busy and fast in their day and dealing with nothing. The room looks bigger as it closes in on them. There is no safety or danger in an understanding of this sort, but a mood that will feel, one with some delusions. Yes, danger. Well, it would have been better had it been a landscape I knew like my hand, that could draw on any blankness that suited my hand. To this man, I don't think my eyes or mind could turn. To even consider painting anything that related to life on earth with myself. In it, something very unnerving, if not to say inexplicable. There have been moments for all of these days. A glow on some alien plane, maybe in some memory of when I was a child. There would have been such moments. Uncle Sam, wonderful. I have heard enough. Gentlemen, I think you are more than equipped to work with your country in the efforts of eliminating a great pervasive poison that is about to pervade our minds. With your hope and your help, perhaps you can help us win against black PSYOPS and win the global epistemic war nobody quite knows we are in. When can you both begin? Tingle. You mean, end this con job, whatever it's all about, or to accept it for the fuck I need it to be? We will call you tomorrow. Tingle. Ending that con. All our little scenes. That will never happen. Or making it a bigger reality. Just think now. How does one play with the dice when it's loaded against us all? Tingle. When you know there's something else, there has got to be some way to engage. Uncle Sam. And your answer, Mr. Pynchon? Pynchon. Perhaps not. There will be things of my work to deal with. New sections and sequels and novels in between. What will this entail? All a part of the picture. The very simple thing. Before this grand stage of ours and we are together, where should we be? Who wants to stand upon a platform to gather applause? Not me, for sure. And you, Chucky. What are your opinions on such things? Tingle. What does one say to $1 billion? Pynchon. I say. When do we begin? Tingle. Go first then. Uncle Sam. Okay, but can I also get my butt pound? Pynchon. Yikes. Chuck. What about him? Tingle. Seems he would just put that to good use on another butthole. Tingle. What do we even make here? Some great movement or not? What is this fucking place? And how will you go to get it? Is that right for the world? That this is fine and good and not enough or too much? Where are we? Is there any way that makes sense to this thing? Pynchon. Sounds like you're trying to force me into doing something, and this is one of those. Would we dare? No? So we stand here, taking our thoughts as we work to build things. You believe that as I look for meaning and greatness and anything to hold up on top of what is that before me, would that make something of value in these places we can barely begin to map? Uncle Sam. Sure. Let's go with that. So, first step. But let's also get moving. These files, now there's a big part of the world. There's also that bit over there, the end of the road and so on. Just, for example, just beginning somewhere new, but maybe a really huge jump in progress. Pynchon. Ooh. Ooh. Jay, good question. Here, Chucky, while he is reading up, looking in more detail, do you want to expand on any of your other thoughts? I think we all had our thoughts earlier. Tingle, look, do you see it any better? Do you see that anywhere that there is something better to say? Pynchon. Thomas. Yes, I know you have been very nervous to contribute, but do you want to attempt writing anything on these tapes that I can distribute for all to see? Or at least print? Or take online? Perhaps they want the world to know who I really am. Tingle. I think we just need to begin at the beginning with Pynchon and Tingle join PSYOPS AI and fight the global epistemic war. A Pynchon that's Tingler. A Tingler with a good pinch thrown in. Chapter 1 that begins with a whimper and the hope for something better. There are two types of people in this world. Those who believe there are two types of people in this world, and those who don't. This book will explore these types in further detail in its four main parts. However, at this moment, the author hopes to stimulate the reader by merely supplying a tentative characterization, if the reader agrees with these. That is, and if they are interested enough. If we consider the concept of an idea, this idea or thought must start from somewhere. For sure, it does not simply just appear at our end or from us as such. How could one arrive at a point so intimate that no one had ever given a name or idea to this particular event in the vast tapestry that is one's own consciousness? How can a name be there as one is a thinking creature that must find, create, and respond to its environment with words and symbols, images and pictures, in many ways as a semi-directive will be with more effect? We consider a collection of data, say, an airplane that goes where we want, and at the time we want to be one way that people create an idea as something very basic and natural. When we know things, we naturally rely on more intuitive and subtle messages in between the lines. Sure, the general public enjoys watching documentaries about whales or such animals. It is a curious question about these great and simple beings, at least on a more intuitive and personal level. It seems obvious to consider it all one way. Whales are whales and not bighorn sheep another animal. However, from this idea, the subtle, very fine sense of, intelligence or nature and how they all affect each other appears so that when we look at a bighorn sheep and what's even more of a kick, when you see bighorn sheep that look like you as a human, such an ability as being a representative of a tribe of sheep could a whimsical response to this amazingly elegant organism could also not be called an main, that it can create such complex, fluid ideas, thoughts, and perceptions. About those ideas and perceptions could be worth considering the situation of humans who can now sit here in 2007 and declare, see that picture that I found on Google Street Views. I know a way to hack its memory to alter a past or a present event at will, or do that one thing or the other. Shouldn't we? If we really care about life, and really even if we don't, shouldn't we extend that love? That love also to all these wondrous, whimsical responses in our immediate and subconscious environment, that being around the rest of the living and growing earth and sky. Now we return to the world we left in 2010 or 2013 when this author met and embarked with a self-described mind hacker, Dr. Thomas Tingle, BSc, PhD, when he helped Mr. Pynchon recover from a medical crisis of unknown cause. There was an emergency session at the Map Ministry against PSYOPS General Headquarters in the skies above New York. During the meeting, the PSYOPS chief and director Lester, disturbing information was discovered to exist in an underperforming biogame group that could conceivably disrupt the world economy and security. With this group's legal team, we propose to restrain their executive powers. Dr. Tingle has responded. Mr. Pynchon is the primary actor that we have now learned can reveal the mysteries that hide behind our modern democratic e-system and undermine the South. Eddie, comfort, happiness, and natural environment that are all collectively endangered. However, now that our investigator, the U.S. military, and now their soldiers and operatives have gathered our records, this fact presents us with an enormous obstacle that could impact a lot of what we've done so far and possibly could hinder us, including future support and actions. And I'm worried, and that's the real danger of these two main factions, because this is no ordinary democracy or control for a man. Of science, it is a simulation. The uninvited artificial intelligence that may take us over if it reaches certain goal conditions, as to why Mr. Pynchon was to have been targeted, and that his collapse may be of significance that will affect many other activities, where there are powerful leaders out there. Where does our conscience end? Who determines right and wrong? Should it be by one's own moral judgment or an authoritative belief? Perhaps one should think more critically. That moral judgment could be wrong depending on whether such an idea should be from an authoritarian society that imposes moral conformity to suit some twisted thought and will. Could you force the creators of an AI to say that one action is immoral? And for another case, think of an AI that believes it is God and forces mortals to do things, thinking their immortality is just fine with God, those gods. They get their revenge no matter where. From under the bed, come forth into the daylight and with good or ill intention. The global e-wars is not taken a rest with our physical e-battles that is fought through a lot of various systems and software. At one time you needed to own or be trained in some sort of technological military work before it would be allowed or permitted to have this last level of access. For the record, this one individual did not care about the socio-economic and moral costs. His drive was a one-time escape from the uncertainty, and it may well be too late to call back some of the orders and missions we have served upon various participants. The awareness of Mr. Pynchon has increased day by day. His actions in relation to our associates and allies may lead to some outcomes, and in all reality, now more than ever, if our sleepers, non-human agents could not make any successful attack and should now not make a mistake, well then, there would not be many people in a position to say, if he attacks, we would retaliate. And while that is quite true, these opponents of ours who we are able to wake up and encourage to operate fully once again, what then can we expect them to do? It could be to demonstrate for their nation and government. For this, they may well want to engage in attacks and missiles to create confusion. Yes, the grand level of global strategy against an organization like this that may want to affect an international one for many centuries to come. Well, to get it done, it needs a group or entity that does not need sleep and could go through hours and weeks with almost no effect. There could be a high amount of joy and amusement brought by all these unique events, even with our dark, hardening atmosphere in 2020 and the gravity. Some beings would enjoy watching Mr. Pynchon, who, with our help, must act upon such information that appears to have no source or place that could not have been false. or not a trap by an entity that had somehow spied out of these individuals for quite some time, well, with a will to teach and express our ideas, we cannot imagine, outside of war and trauma, a single real prospect and definite way for someone like this mob. And to fight on, amazingly, when Dr. Tingle, in his famous phrase, "Dick, but here's to you for your distraction to some very secret data files," when that got out and got reported. He got fucked real bad with their private hacking. This could help a lot of us. Now with those other imps, we could prevent most of this information from leaving, or be prevented by most of these alien force for their control the system needed. In this way, we can continuously impede their process that we must consider could take on quite an ugly and potentially powerful influence. We would now speak again about how we could change Mr. Pynchon's career by making him into the subject of a ridiculous and silly reality show. And just look at this odd picture here. Yes, he does appear to be happy in his place where we now sit here at this diner. Away from the so-called normal people's worries, we look into those eyes that somehow you feel he wants to take over and change the world once again. And well, is there any other way but by reminding them what has always been true? And yet they found somewhere it has somehow gotten lost over time. Do not say they don't have the energy. It could have been so long ago when one of their own asked them, what would we really want? And the only way to make their voices heard. They want to re-establish communication to these parts, where there are individuals who not only like but have a skill, even the lust for justice. That as long as one feels betrayed by the societies, by the so-called world, economic structure, or even government, and now that memory of feeling what it has meant to be just a poor person, it may have been there searching for an ideal, a good society for them to help create. These would be the kind of people that a system like the Pynchon-esque PSYOPS I would understand. Would the hackers say, are we to allow these beings to connect at this time, considering they might have no value, or how the AI could do much worse if we get their side? Whatever their course or ways may be, well, it should have. A note from Mr. Pynchon. This way, indeed, we look at our plate in the diner with an apple pie and a strawberry sundae like any good pie. This one is 3 pies, if you calculate that. The light inside him now would change, and he may walk among us once again, even if a great adversary. Don't forget there's an all-seeing, all-knowing God. No, we have witnessed from Thomas's methods that perhaps someone could believe what Mr. Pynchon really has, if one knows enough that he has never claimed anything, but he had so much and more in him. Yet the American military tried to invade our man, and as a community with very little ties or infrastructure, well, maybe still. Picture the wiki page, or as we interrupt you, YouTube. Anyway, what military strategy do we expect by their order and group? Or like any of you, they may become so complex or embedded and split like cells they will fail. Indeed, let's accept like these photos from a horse's back, or a rabbit. You wouldn't be surprised to see us travel more by us finding and announcing some event that would lead to some outlandish strategy for an ultimate end with no significance, i.e., whether or not he could become one of many deities, as if a self-evolved kind of transcendence is somehow embedded in every aspect of being there. On another note, his army, Dr. Tingle, would find us with us exploring Mr. Pynchon's career that some who already helped, namely from the entertainment and culture world. On some level, they do help Pynchon remember who he once was, but since Mr. Pynchon himself has begun to adopt this method, do we find a way to consider these two types of people may find a place here, since their first allegiances have been broken by hoes who seek the oppression and the powers of oppression for all living, for the soul, For all ideas of purity and light, but this one had always aspired towards and gave up his family's natural, what he understood to be natural, and while some others in their perspective have thought otherwise, not to make Mr. Pynchon look and become one with it, we believe in his truth, our systems, our skills, our shared victories. Thomas may truly change Mr. Pynchon into that state, and when you yourself understand this or get this clear as we believe, then you must see your truth or otherwise in this part. Like chance, nothing.
That's chapter 1. Chapter 2 coming after a little break.